This is a really serious issue. Heading towards Denver today. It's the 22nd. I leave tomorrow. But I've had a real excuse me. I've had a real paradigm shift on this, or I need to look for a real paradigm shift. I went to a place that I was absolutely convinced I had figured the clues out. Again, I hate to say this, but again, I swear, I've thought too much. I have read too much into it. And now that I even think about the videos that I'll be putting out, I'm like, Eric, you've done it again. You have, you've read too much into the clues. You've been on Google Earth, thinking it up too much. I go back to Fenn's statement to simplify that he made on Nightline or whatever it was. And that, I thought, got me to this point in Dinosaur National Monument. That's pretty much when I came up with the entire linear plan to get to Dinosaur National Monument, was when he said simplify. I've been carrying that in my head, looking at Google Earth. It all lined up perfectly. It all made sense. And I get there, and what happens again is that Fenn could not have done it. I keep doing this over and over and over. Fenn could not have done what I tried to do. I tried to go down Sandy Creek from the dirt road that I was on that's right there near Echo Park. I keep forgetting these names of these small roads. I don't really care. And here I am, as you've seen from the videos. I'm so long, arduous. I should have turned around halfway down, but my thought was, well, I still want to get to the point. I still want to get to that point. Then I run into this group of two guys and a gal, and they say, oh, we walked up from Echo Park Campground, which is where I wanted to originally go from anyway. And they told me I still had 45 minutes to get to the river, and I was already getting very tired, and I decided, hell with it, I'll go back up. And the entire way back up Sandy Creek, I was telling myself, well, okay, Forrest Fenn would not have walked down Sandy Creek, but I think he would have walked from Echo Park Campground to where. And so, of course, then I try the walk from Echo Park Campground. Starts out very nice. Grassy, level, pretty cool. And I finally get to a point where I go, there's no way. There's no way in hell Fenn walked this either. Plus, then I'm looking at the river, and the river, at least at the point that I turned back, never afforded me a shallow, narrow area to go over to the other side, which is what I'm convinced I'd have to do for both of the places I thought could be the blaze. And I know people get upset. They say, what do you mean two places? You shouldn't have two places. You know where the blaze is. Look, none of us know what the damn blaze is. You got to get that through your head. You are not going to go. I was convinced that I had seen the blaze from Google Earth in two different spots potentially. And they fit into this fairly small area of that part of Echo Park. So I thought it was a no-brainer. If it's not here, then it's up a ways. Fenn couldn't have walked that either. So the whole thing gets to be, I have got to have a paradigm shift. Of course, I was talking to one of my relatives, one of my, and her, are you sure it's not? Are you sure I'm getting a little bit of support now, because whenever I do this, I'm starting to hear this kind of hopefulness, like, well, I hope you do find the money. But then, of course, when I called and said, well, I'll be back in a day, and, you can quit taking care of the cats, I immediately hear, you sure it's not a hoax? And I'm still hearing the hoax business. I'm going, no, I don't think it's a hoax. I really don't. But the paradigm shift here has to be, in my opinion, the paradigm shift has to be in warm waters, where warm waters halt. And the reason I say that is, for me to get to this point, I had two warm waters halt. One of them was Cold Springs Mountain, and one of them was the Flaming Gorge. I figured, what the hell, you know, 6 1/2 dozen of the other. Didn't really matter to me whether it's Flaming Gorge or, because they both go to the Brown Refuge, and the Brown Refuge to me is home of Brown, is refuge of Brown. It's kind of a home for animals, if you get my drift. And of course it's based after whatever Brown it was based after. There's so many Brown legends of Browns up in this area that I didn't, that I don't know. Oh, and by the way, I did not go up to Vermilion Creek. I was kind of disappointed. I was kind of down. And I thought, oh, screw it. I can do it another time. I'll probably be out here. I'm going to be somewhere. Remember I told you I was going to quit if I didn't find it? Well, screw that. Screw that, but I'll tell you this. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while before I do this again. It may be that's the summer. It may be the end of the summer, if even then. Because what I was going to say is, the one thing that I'm iffy about on this whole planned out map from the poem, I mean, you'll see what my thinking was, but the one thing that I said could be a couple of different things to me was Flaming Gorge or Cold Springs Mountain. After that, it was Wild Mountain North, it was Wild Mountain South, it was Pool Creek, it was Worm Springs Cliff, it was Iron Mine Draw. Everything fit. All of it fit together so beautifully, but strangely, what is the one thing that does not fit? The one thing that does not fit is where Warm Waters halt, because I said it could be 2 different places. And here's the bottom line. I have to have an absolute paradigm shift on that first clue. The one clue Fenn has repeatedly said you have to figure out the rest. For this thing to plan out like it did, and for me to realize when I was boots on the ground, and that's often, folks, when you find out is when you're boots on the ground. For me to then find out that Fenn couldn't have done it. I mean, that's part of what makes this all kind of real. You actually do have to go there and figure it out for yourself. But by the same token, it's also what makes it very frustrating, is you have to go there. You know, you spend your time, your effort, your money. Your effort is beginning to be the thing. My legs today really, they don't hurt, and I'm actually getting in pretty good shape. And anyone being out there, absolutely get a walking stick. You get into so many circumstances when you're in the wild. But the really important thing I want to stress is, and I guess I'm stressing this for myself, is I have got to come up with a new paradigm. I'm going to put a lot of thought into nothing for the next few days. I'll be home tomorrow. And I'm just going to spend all my time worrying about Warm Waters Halt. Warm Waters Halt. Fenn has meant something when he has said, you know, there's places could be Warm Waters Halt all across the Rockies. He means something when he's telling us that. In a way, he's almost telling me, now I realize, that just looking at a map won't get it for you. Why did I think getting it, looking at a map would get it for me? Because of the little girl in India comment. The little girl in India comment is telling me that someone with restricted, what am I trying to say? To me, it just meant someone across the world could look at a map of the United States and they could figure out where Warm Waters halt, because he kind of said that. So what does that mean? To me, it meant that you just look at the map and you can see a place that refers to warm or hot or cold or glacier or something like that, and they are all over the map, and that you could figure out where Warm Waters halt. But as Fenn said, many places could be Warm Waters halt. So what is he telling us? He's telling us then you have to think of where Warm Waters halt in a different manner from simply looking at a map simply, even though it could be on the map. I know that's confusing. It's confusing for me. I got to figure it out, because quite frankly, I don't get it. I'm obviously doing something wrong. I'm hitting these spots. I'm hitting these spots that I think are really well thought out. Whoa. And I'm getting to them, and every time the same thing happens. Fenn, at 80 years of old, said, don't go anywhere that's too precarious, that's too dangerous. Go to a place an 80-year-old man could go in and out 4 times. To me, I am putting that as an hour walk every time. That right there is 4 hours. But I had not made it that far. Well, let's see, where was I at? When I just flat said Forrest Fenn couldn't have done this, I think I was about an hour. I wasn't far from it, but the area that I was walking through was so narrow, was so rocky, and required a little bit of gymnastics, if you know what I mean, to get around rocks and hold on to branches and use the walking stick. And I went, wait there, I almost slapped myself. Eric, what are you doing? You're walking right through an area that Fenn would never, ever have made it through or even tried to make it through. And that's what keeps preventing me from now. So I've learned a lot from boots on the ground. I certainly love the exercise that I get from these hiking expeditions. But I just am constantly putting myself in positions that Fenn would never be in. And I've got to quit doing that. So I have got to rethink where warm waters halt. I've got to rethink it. That's it. That's the clue. That is where I'm going to just have to sit back. I don't know, folks. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know. This is I had so much invested mentally in this trip. And I got really slapped down when I realized that Fenn could never do it, or would never do it. And it just all seemed to fit so perfectly. But isn't it funny that of every single clue in this trip, the only one that I could say, well, I kind of thought, well, it doesn't really matter if it's Flaming Gorge or Cold Springs, is the very clue that Fenn has always said you have to figure out. And I just thought, what the heck does it matter? Because I'm going to still be able to get to House of Brown. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm just sitting here kind of in a mental quagmire. And I'm looking at other people, what they're doing in their vlogs and their blogs, and they're not figuring it out either. You got people all over the place. And you got to go out and do boots on the ground. You can't just sit there and say, well, I'm gonna make sure that I'm completely, absolutely 110% right, and then commit to boots on the ground. It doesn't work that way. Of course, I mean, you don't. Admittedly, with me, I've been a little bit just kind of enjoying going on the trip, and I realize that for some people that may seem a little frivolous. But, I'm a retired guy. I'm not working, so But on the other hand, when people say you should wait until you're 110% before you do boots on the ground, I can tell you absolutely, I was sure I knew where this was. And I've had a couple of people ask me, people I know say, well, you said that before. And I said, no, but you don't understand. The home of Molly Brown and Vermilion Creek are just, and I've said this before, so I won't dwell on it, but I've said I had really good clues. But this one, I thought I had all the clues. And isn't it funny, though, that the one clue that was a flip of a coin, and I didn't even think it mattered that it was a flip of a coin, was where warm waters halt.